Of course, this is the first week of January, now in the books, and we know millions of people this month are reconsidering the relationship with alcohol. We call it Dry January. Some are going completely dry, some maybe moderately drinking. Julian Braithwaite, Director General of the International Alliance of Responsible Drinking, joining us this morning to discuss what decades of research are now telling us about alcohol and health. Julian, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So, talk to us, break down this Dry January. Some people have never heard of it. It seems like it's becoming a growing cultural phenomenon.
As you say, it's becoming something of an annual tradition. And look, anything that gets people to pause and reflect on their relationship with alcohol can be a good thing. But here's the thing: what the science, and this is based on decades of research, what the science shows is that drinking moderately throughout the year is better than any 1 month single fix, and it's likely to be more sustainable and less likely to lead to the sort of cycles of binge and bust that are obviously not a good idea.
Okay, all right. So what prompted this Dry January, and what is the research? What is surprising you about this research?
So I think this is a tradition that I think began actually in the United Kingdom, but it's obviously crossed the pond to us here in the United States. But it's a good thing, and anything that does get people to pause and reflect on their relationship with alcohol, as I say, is helpful. But the science is really quite stable on this, and what the science shows that people who drink moderately live at least as long as people who don't drink at all. So when people are thinking about their relationship with alcohol, that's a really important thing to have in mind, which is that the science is on the side of moderation.
So what does it mean to be moderately drinking? How do you measure that?
So it's about patterns, long-term patterns of drinking. It's about which matter more than any sort of short-term changes. It's about spreading your drinking out across the week and indeed across the year. It's 1 to 2 drinks a day. Depends. It's slightly different for men and women. Every country has its own different national guidelines. There's no one size fits all when it comes to moderation, and for some people the best choice is not to drink at all. But for most adults, drinking in moderation in this way is low risk.
What do you think is being missed in the conversation then about alcohol and health?
So I think it is this growing concern that drinking in moderation itself is unhealthy. I mean, you see the polling which says this. And I think that's where the narrative has sort of got ahead of the science, really, because coming back to the science, and it's very stable and it's based on decades of research, actually drinking in moderation is the better approach than a 1 month reset, which may not lead to long-term and stable drinking patterns later.
And so for whom does abstaining make sense to?
So look, for some people that is the best choice. If you're a pregnant woman, for example, you shouldn't be drinking. And depending on people's individual context, their health histories, that may be the right choice as well. And people should always talk to their doctor. But the overall message, which is that on average, people who drink moderately live at least as long as people who don't drink at all. That's the thing to bear in mind when people are thinking about what's the best approach, the most sensible approach in terms of their relationship to alcohol.
And specifically when it comes to Gen Z and their approach to drinking, what makes this generation different?
So it's really interesting that. I mean, the data's showing that they're perhaps the most intentional generation when it comes to drinking, that they are very deliberate about it, that it's linked to the occasion, that it's linked to their overall approach to well-being. They're drinking in different ways. They're doing something that's called zebra striping. I think here in the United States you call it zebra striping, where they're alternating, going out for a beer and then they'll follow up with a non-alcoholic beer, for example. There's lots of great no and low products that are now in the market, and people are using them to have more choice and to drink more moderately, and that's a good thing.
Okay, interesting. And for someone who is drinking occasionally, trying to figure out where they are with their habits, figure out if they're healthy or not, what should we be thinking about?
So look, it's a it's a personal choice, of course, but I think the key thing to take away is the science is on the side of moderation. Drinking moderately, long-term patterns, drinking patterns are better than one-off single-month fixes. Thinking about the whole year rather than just the month, those are the things to bear in mind, and to be reassured that actually the science supports drinking in moderation.
All right, very good. Great conversation and insight. Julian Braithwaite with the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking. That's what it's about. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.